folks. We're glad that you're here. Welcome to the Checkpoint Church podcast. This is something new that we are trying. Some of you may have been familiar with the Weekend Geek, the Twig podcast that we did, a couple of months ago. And we mentioned in the last episode of Twig that we were going to be going on hiatus, that things were going to be evolving, changing. We didn't know what they would actually look like. So this is what we're thinking it's going to look like, but that does mean that it takes some time to figure out. So no stingers. Some of the things that we will hopefully have existing in future episodes do not yet exist. But we're going to start because you got to start somewhere. And until we get things off the ground, we won't know what this thing can become. And so that's what this is going to be, is just a grand experiment, a new thing, an opportunity to explore whatever this Checkpoint Church podcast will become. So I do have a scripted segment to begin us, so that I will still have some kind of a flow. So welcome to the Checkpoint Church podcast. This is a show that helps nerds, geeks, and gamers feel seen, connected, and spiritually supported, because you don't have to explore faith alone. Today, the things that we're going to be talking about during this episode are the game, anime, and book clubs that we tackled in August at Checkpoint Church. We're going to talk about Silksong crashing the internet, Life is Strange getting a green light for a TV series. We're going to review our To Be Hero X sermon from last Sunday. Talk about Pixel Pilgrimage that we took on Thursday, talk about what it means to be a part of Checkpoint Church. You may have already kind of gleaned that that's sort of what this podcast is supposed to be about anyway. So we're going to talk about what that even means. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the loneliness epidemic, because that is our difficult life conversation this month. And then the final thing we're going to answer is if I pastor exclusively to children, which, spoiler alert, I've got two people that are not children here. So I think that we can exclusively say right here, right now, the answer has been spoiled. But I am Nerd Pastor Nate, the host here of the show, a real life nerd, real life pastor who finds Jesus in my favorite fandoms. This is going to be the space that we're tying together all of the folks who make Checkpoint Church what it is, from Discord to YouTube. We want you to be a part of the show. That's why we're going to have folks in the chat. So everybody say hello to Twyla and hopefully Tornto, who will be joining us on YouTube as our level 2 representatives in the chat. But we want everybody to engage wherever you might be tuning in from, whether you're on Twitch or on YouTube or finding this live stream, or if you're a VOD watcher after the fact. We would love for you to be a part of the show live. That is definitely the intention of the show, but we appreciate you watching the VOD nonetheless. So before I ramble anymore, I'm going to let our other hosts of the day introduce themselves and maybe start with the classic, what you've been watching, playing, and reading.
You want to go first?
Sure, I'll go first. Hi, I'm Lizzie, and I'm really excited to be here today. What I've been watching is a lot of YouTube. I always have Parks and Rec in the background, but I've been watching a lot of Smosh content and such. Reading so many things for my English and sociology class, so I'm getting excited for that. And playing to get some time away from those classes and work and such. I've been playing a lot of Coral Island, which has been really good and really bad, because then I want to keep playing rather than do anything else. Yeah. So, but it's been fun since the new update. Yep.
Okay. I'm Joanna, and I have been watching. Honestly, football started, so I've been watching some football. And then we started the paper that came out. We were huge Office fans, and so my husband and I, we decided to give it a try. So far, it's not awful. We're only maybe not even halfway through the season yet, but it's gotten some chuckles out of us and definitely some moments. So I have hopes, but I always do. Let's see. Reading. I am so ADHD with my reading habits, and so I did pick up Night Circus to try to read it a little bit, which we'll get into later. I also have been reading a novel that the name eludes me right now, but it's a really interesting story based on the first murder in America. It takes place during, or I should say, the first murder trial in America takes place during the times of Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr, and it's very entertaining. But it is kind of like a historical drama. And then let's see. Oh, playing new Helldivers update. So lots and lots of Helldivers. My husband and I, we like to play together, and we have another couple that we play with. And so they released a new update with new maps, enemies, weapons, war bonds. So if you're a fan, then you know all about that. And so that's been consuming a lot of our time, just getting used to those again.
Very fun. Yeah, I'm very tempted by the paper. I don't know when I'll get around to starting it. Those are always like a show that I would have watched with my spouse, but she is extremely busy getting back to school. And so I feel like that's a tricky thing, but I love Greg Daniels. I love the stuff that he creates. And so I'm always on board with giving it a try. And kind of like you said, I've seen good enough feelings about the show so far that I'm down. I'm curious. Yeah. And I played Coral Island, but very, very little. Only really got into the very beginning of it. I don't even remember who would have been my waifu of choice. That's how little I played it.
I have a waifu of choice, but she doesn't come until later seasons and sometimes disappears. And so I was like, wait, no. Yeah.
I really wanted it. I wanted to get back into Fields of Mystria, which just got a recent update not too long ago that I think brought in marriage at all. So they had candidates, but you couldn't get to the level of actually proposing. And man, it was a real good game. That was a game that absolutely ate up my hours. I can't really play farming sims like that anymore. I've been playing some of Fantasy Life I for this upcoming month. But those games, they take so much time. They are so demanding of your hours. Whereas like, I mean, Helldivers does the same thing. It takes a lot of your time too, but at least you have like spurts that you can call it quits. You have moments where you can call it quits. Whereas like a farming sim just never ends. It just keeps going and going.
I feel like Coral Island capitalized upon that because like, oh, well, tomorrow there's a festival. So you don't want to miss the festival. And it's like, oh man, if I don't play the festival, then I'll totally forget the next time I log in. And there's so many mini games now too. It's amazing. But also I'm like, I need to go read. So.
Yeah, that's a mood. I have been playing. Oh, go ahead, Joanna.
I was just going to say that's me in Tiny Bookshop because there's all these events that happen on different days. And I'm like, if I will miss the flea market or whatever, I'll forget and then go someplace else.
Yeah. So I've been playing through Hollow Knight, Silksong. I picked it up on launch day after sitting in the queue for several hours. And it's been a good time so far. I'm enjoying it. It is definitely one that my wife is ready for me to be done with already because I'm like sitting there fuming and she's like, maybe you need to stop. And I'm like, I'm having a good time. I was like, I'm loving this. You need to believe me. This is a blast. And like, it's been fun. It's been interesting because this is not the first game, but definitely like we have a 6-year-old, and a 6-year-old has a very different like perception of what's going on. She's much more aware of my feelings. And so she's been like sitting next to me and putting her little hand on my hand and is like, it's going to be okay. You're going to get it next time. You got this. And so she's like picking up on the stressors of the challenging game. And hopefully I'm being a good example of like, we try again, we take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. Challenges are good. They can be healthy, good things that we can just keep on pushing through. So I'm loving it so far. We'll talk a little bit more about the crash there soon. And then I am not really watching much of anything. I'm trying to catch up on some anime. Kind of like you with the Night Circus there, Joanna, I'm trying to get through A Place Further Than the Universe, our anime club from last month. So I'm a little over halfway through it, and we'll talk more about that soon. But I am watching a Let's Play of Weeby News playing through the 100 line. I don't know if I've talked to y'all about the 100 line before. Do y'all know what that is?
think so. No.
No.
So this is the Danganronpa and Zero Escape creators. So two of my favorite games, Escape the Room, murder mystery games. And they started a company called Tukio Games years ago. And whenever they started their company, they started working on like this magnum opus, this thing that they were going to create together that was going to be a masterpiece. And so that is the 100 line. And so the premise of a Zero Escape game is there's been like some kind of murder and you go through and figure things out that are going on. And then the game ends typically with a bad end. And then you start back over at the beginning and you choose a different branching path, right? So that's like the premise of the game. 100 line says, what if we made 100 endings? So what if we took that concept and just went insane with it? And so this game is a murder mystery, like Escape the Room type game that has literally 100 endings. And so I went through the first, like ending, or not short at all. To get to my second ending, I think was like 60 hours. So,
Oh my gosh.
Now granted, there are going to be some endings that are shorter. They're going to be, you're going to be able to eventually get to the point where there's so many branches that, an ending's like 10 minutes. One ending's like an hour and a half. So it is shortening, but I don't have that kind of time. And so I've been watching through, some of the other folks that are playing through the game so that I can experience more of the endings. And Weeby is one of them. And I'm loving it. It's so good. It's so weird. It's so Danganronpa. It's so Zero Escape. Like, it absolutely bleeds both of those creators' wacky ideas. And so if you like Danganronpa or if you like Zero Escape, you'll probably like the 100 line. But if you value your time, it's like it is the Bible of choose your adventure books. It is an epic, if ever there was one. And then I'm reading through the plot for our book club pick for this month and enjoying it so far. The premise of that one is that this is somebody who was like a teacher at a writing college, had a student who was writing a book that like they could never mess up. And this professor only was like a one-hit wonder, only wrote one good book, could never write another, loses his job. Years down the road, this student that had the perfect idea shows up in the obits. And so the professor's like, oh, he never got to publish his book before he died. Guess I can. And so he publishes as his student's work under his own name. And we'll see where the adventure goes from there. But hence the name, The Plot. It's the perfect plot. It kind of reminds me of the song by Tenacious D of Tribute, because it's like they never actually really tell you the plot of the book. They're just like, this is the best. This is a book about the best book in the world. And it's nice. Fun in that way. So I like that.
That sounds fun.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at and where I'm coming from. And do let us know in the chat what you might be watching, playing, and reading. Would love to hear what you've got going on in your lives. That is something that we want to continue and take with us over from Twig, is this kind of element of what's going on in our lives. So whereas in the old iteration of this podcast, we might have like sped through watch, play, reads, just kind of done it as quick as possible, except for the episodes where Sneaky was on, where I think we always wound up talking more about watch, play, reads than usual. We're going to try to sit in them for a little bit during this show to enjoy one another's activities, enjoy our hobbies, enjoy what we're getting into. And so that's the premise of this. Speaking of that, we're going to take some time now and pivot into something that we do here at Checkpoint Church. So we have clubs. We have a club that plays through a video game. We have a club that reads through a book. And we have a club that watches a season of an anime together each and every month. So we've done this for, I don't know, at this point, years, maybe. I think we might be at the end of our second year of the Button Bash Brigade, which is the name of our video game club. So we have played over 24 games together, which is super exciting. If you've been with us from the beginning and played each and every one, you can find those on various feeds. Typically, if I am in a place like it's backlogged, then I'll probably set up a list of our games that we've played. I'm on Storygraph, so I put together a list of the books we've read. Anime, I guess my anime list would be the one, but I don't know if I've ever put together a list, but I could. We're going to talk a little bit about August's pick. I think all of us have at least experienced some of them, even if I know I've rolled credits on 2 of the 3 and I'm about halfway on the third. So let's start with our video game pick. So our video game pick for August was a very short one. This is one you truly could have gotten through in just a matter of hours, called Duck Detective: The Secret Salami. So Joanna, Lizzie, whoever, what would you like to share about your experience playing through that game?
So that's what I did finish. Like you mentioned, it was really short. So, that was actually a lot of fun, and I've been kind of telling people about it ever since, because the kind of dry yet goofy style of humor is so right up my alley. I would literally just like laugh out loud as I'm listening, reading, the plot, and the dialogue was so well done. Just the way that they kept it nice and family friendly, but at the same time, plenty of adult humor that you could really enjoy. It was so well done, but something that, like, I could play with my kids in the room, and not feel like, they were getting exposed to something that was age inappropriate. That being said, yeah, I had a blast with it. It was a good time, and I didn't have to consult a guide too much. There was there towards the end where it just had, like, you were filling in, point after point after point. It got a little confusing for me, and I was like, okay, now I just need to go see what they said. I'm ready to be done. But the story was great, and it wound up having more depth than I anticipated for something called the Duck Detective.
Yeah, it went places. And I think that it was, like you said, one of those games where you were eventually ready for the end. So I think it like knew the length that it needed to be and tried to hit it as best as it could, but still had some puzzles in there that were maybe a bit much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think a lot of us got stuck at there was the safe. I ended up consulting a friend. I was like, I can figure out the 2, I just can't figure out the 3rd one. And it was just so frustrating. But thankfully I did not give up. And yeah, I was really surprised that one of the characters is voiced by Brian David Gilbert, who does a lot of comedy music and such, and also works with Dropout. And I've recently gotten into some of his stuff, and I could talk about that at some other point.
I feel like it was a pretty stacked cast, really, wasn't it? I wasn't ZD the main guy.
I don't know a lot of voice actors, but the ones that I do know about, I'm like, yes, I know that. Like in Elf, Santa, I know him. But yeah, and it's funny because I didn't even recognize his voice. But yeah, I see Twyla talked about very curious how he took out how he did the puzzles in the ending. Like, are we allowed to do spoilers for this game, or should we?
I guess we should have said that at the very beginning. Yes, I'm fine with spoilers for any of the things that we did in last month's club. I think that's fair game.
Okay. All right. I'm just making sure. Yeah, it's been a while since I've played, because I think I played it at the beginning of the month. But I remember there were like technically 2 totally different crimes, but you only arrested people for one of the crimes. And it was just an interesting.
We're just not going to talk about that other one. It didn't happen.
It didn't happen. We're not looking at
duck.
it. Yeah. One problem. So
it definitely went back and forth of the like levels of how serious are we going to take this and this problem. Are we going to actually like talk about real problems or silly problems, like, secretly moving across Salami across, border lines, which was, a bit sillier. So I was wrong. It was not ProZD. It's Sean Chiplock, who is the lead voice guy, who, depending on what games you play and what you might watch anime wise, you may be more familiar. Oh, there we go. And Twyla also corrected me there. Yeah. Rivali in Breath of the Wild, in Dan to Dan, in Digital Circus as Kinger, if you like Amazing Digital Circus. There's lots of different roles that you could find Sean Chiplock from. So yeah, definitely a big time get, and did a really good job as well in the performance. I thought that Duck Detective himself was one of the best acted in the game. And so it shows the voice actor was there. And I don't know. So if anybody really enjoyed the play style, except for the safe, my recommendation is this game was very, very clearly inspired by The Case of the Golden Idol, which is an indie mystery solving game that came out a few years ago. And the style of solution finding was very similar, using words to fill in the phrases, kind of ad-libbing into it, and garnering them from the images. Golden Idol is definitely much more difficult, I think, than Duck Detective. So if you found that part of it to be challenging, then it might not be for you if you got it frustrated. I only really got frustrated by the safe thing and the ability of the telegraphing of the hints there was not it. So yeah.
I was so ready to be frustrated by that safe. I was so ready, and it was like a 2-second thing. I was like, what happened?
Yeah, I did
not experience the frustration, and it was almost anticlimactic because I was like, oh yeah, there it is.
It was the middle number, I think, that was not well hinted at. But it also could be one of those situations where you overthink to the point of it being no longer apparent. Like that happens all the time in Ace Attorney games, where I'll be playing Ace Attorney and I'll come up with the perfect response to whatever Edgeworth is accusing. And I'll be like, it was this item. And they'll be like, no, it was this slip of paper. And I'll be like, no, it was my thing. My thing is the same thing. And I'm just getting ahead of you. So yeah, there's definitely that element to it. My favorite part of the game was the loading screens, I will say. More than once, they got me and just gave me the biggest smile. And for those that haven't played it, they have little did you know fun facts that are sometimes so ridiculous that they are 100% correct. And then sometimes playing on other old-timey, wives' tales, such as not my favorite, but one of my favorites was if you drop a duck, it will always land pointing north, which is kind of a flip on the idiom of the cat always landing feet down, the toast always landing butter side up, that kind of stuff, right? This is a great little moment. Did y'all have any of those that stood out?
Just all of them were great. It reminded me of Trombone Champs loading screens.
Yes,
whatever.
Very much.
Don't drop your trombone in the river last Tuesday. Things like that. So
yeah. Mine was how many ducks per square foot. There's an average of 5 ducks per square meter or something like that. I was like, that is, how would you, what?
Yeah. Some of the humor reminded me almost a little bit of the old school LucasArts games, or the just the point and click adventures, the fact that he has an addiction to bread, that he's trying to break or whatever, that is so point and click adventure. That is so the kind of subtle, like you mentioned, the adult humor that you can still talk about within the family room, but know that what they're really getting at with the detective's addiction there.
Ducks shouldn't be eating bread. Thank you.
Right. It's bad for them.
They should not. But I also have an addiction to bread. I too am a member of that club. So it's, to me, it's when he's oh, sweet, sweet bread. I'm like, yes.
I feel seen. Yeah.
Exactly.
Twyla shares there over on Twitch, was screen sharing Duck Detective one weekend, and some friends were groaning so hard at the loading screens. Yeah. It was so good, and just had the best moments. I have not yet played the sequel, but I think I own it. I feel like I picked it up because they're really very affordable games. They're short games, and so they are quality, but not something that's going to break the bank. So if you're looking for a good time, those are easy to come by. Well, let's move on to our book. So the book for last month was called The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. And she now has not a sequel, but another book. So has since written a second book called Starless Sea, which is one that I'm curious about potentially picking up. But this was a fascinating read. I've got some fun facts about it, but I'd love to hear if y'all got a chance to comb through even those first couple of chapters and what you might have thought.
I did. That's about as far as I got, was the intro and maybe the first chapter or two. Not for any particular reason other than just time. It wasn't like, oh, hey, this book's not for me. Wow, just the writing is the way I feel like a lot of time, like obviously it's taking place in a not here and now. And she really captures that. I feel like a lot of when you do a lot of things that are old timey or steampunky or that kind of thing, it's they don't transition the language well enough to transport me, and I struggle with that. But this was done well. Like this was done really well, and the language was there. The vibe was there, and so I'm really interested to see more about the universe that it takes place and what's happening within that.
I don't normally join the book club, unfortunately. I struggle reading enough for my classes. So,
Yeah.
But did you get a chance to read it, Nate?
So yes, I did read it. I actually listened to the audiobook. So I did the full audiobook experience, and it was immediately familiar. So one of my fun facts for those of you that maybe had a history with Harry Potter, the Harry Potter audiobooks are read by Jim Dale, and this book too is read by Jim Dale. And so there was a kind of familiarity in the narration, and also the fantastic elements, the magic elements, definitely had a lot of familiarity between those two universes. My favorite fun fact about this book is that Erin Morgenstern wrote it over three, I don't know if they were consecutive, but three different NaNoWriMos. So if you don't know what those are, that's National Novel Writing Month. And that's a challenge where you come together for the entire month of November and try to write something like 3,000 words a day, so that at the end of the month, you have a 40,000 word or somewhere around there manuscript for whatever you're writing. Mm-hmm. And so this is actually something that she wrote over three consecutive, or three, like I said, three whatever NaNoWriMos, and wound up sending off, I think having it be rejected quite a bit, like most books, and then eventually finding a landing point and it becoming pretty popular, pretty viral. So I thought it was really neat that was a success story that has now gone on to write another book that I think has also done pretty well and was just really well written. So to entice you potentially into reading it, it's a POV novel. What were you going to say, Joanna?
Oh, I was just saying, I love that it started as a NaNoWriMo project, because that is such a great push and such a great initiative to get people writing. And I think we need more positive success stories. I feel like that encourages people to participate. And so when I saw that, when I initially Googled it, I saw that, and that was the one that pushed me. That was the fun fact that pushed me to read it. Although. Yeah. If I had known that he had done the audiobook, I would have audiobooked it. Yeah. So I now have an Audible credit to go spend later.
There you go. It's a multi-POV, so it's got multiple point of view characters that it's trying to tell from. And typically whenever that happens, I feel like you have two characters. But this is more than two. There's really a third character and technically a fourth if you really include these kind of interstitials. So it's going to go back and forth between a contest between a boy and a girl, who the girl is a descendant of a very famous magician. And these are magicians who do real magic. So there's a real fantastical element going on here. And the daughter of this magician loses her mother in a way that I don't think we ever learn. I'm trying to recall if we ever learn it, but she loses her mother, has to go and live with her.
They do.
They do? Okay.
In the beginning, they do.
I don't mean like what they say, but if it's like the truth.
Oh, okay.
Like what actually happened. Because I don't think that's not true, but I think there's more to the story. regardless, Prospero is this magician that winds up kind of finding his daughter is living with him after losing their mother, and has some pretty spectacular magic powers. The cool example of what the magic can do is like he might smash a pocket watch into the table, and then his daughter can, like, using her mind and force powers, reassemble the interwoven gears and reform the glass, and make the thing new again. And so there's this magical, sort of power going on there that never really gets explained, but is kind of left to a lot of mystical mystery. Then we have another person in the story who is kind of a rival of Prospero, and we don't really ever learn his name as well. We get several names for him, but he's kind of this mystical, otherworldly magician that is in competition with Prospero. And so they say they want to start another contest between this daughter, who clearly is gifted, and then the man in the gray suit, who is the other person that is like, I'll go find someone to enter the competition, goes to a orphanage, adopts a young boy. That becomes our other POV that we follow. And so it's got these two characters who are both very magically savvy, and just really well-written, well-crafted characters. And then there is the third POV of a character named Bailey, who we don't really understand a lot about until much later in the book. This is just somebody who is fascinated by the concept of the circus, which I haven't even talked about yet. So the competition itself takes place in the form of this circus. And so we've got these two characters who are a part of this big night circus, this circus that only shows up at night, that is entirely in black and white with only accents of red taking place. And so it's got this mystical element as well. It shows up on trains, kind of like, the circus is already kind of a mystery. And so I'm sure that's what she was going from, is like, what does it do? How do these people live? How do they get from town to town? How do they set up so quickly, break down so quickly? A lot of neat mystical stuff, a lot of huge mysteries, a lot of very muddy third act plot moments. The author really goes for it. And a lot of it is very, very good, but there are so many ideas kind of competing in this book that it definitely gets a little bit obscure towards the end, to the point that I just went to read a bunch of reviews to see if I could figure out what had actually happened. There's a lot of heartbreaking characters in the book that are very much worth the time if you're curious about it. In particular, one character named Isabel is a pretty heartbreaking character who I clicked with very early on, and enjoyed following their story throughout it. And then I mentioned the fourth POV, which is the interstitial moments, which is you're taken regularly through your own eyes to what you would experience if you were going to the night circus. And so we've got the two characters who are mystical putting on the night circus in a way. You've got this third character who we learn more about later. And then you've got this fourth POV that is you, the reader, if you were attending the night circus. And it's good. It's very good. I enjoyed the book quite a bit, but it is a long read, and it is a dense read, and it is a confusing one. So I definitely recommend probably pick up the audiobook, probably look up a guide, find a small group that's reading through it, find you a book club, because I think that it is actually a really good book to read in a book club. And I would love to hear what you think about it if you do.
Yeah. Like I said, definitely going to go pick up that audiobook. I think it'll be I was intrigued. I read enough to know that I was intrigued.
Yeah. And it is intriguing. It's got the hooks of any other fantasy novel. So if you're on board with magic, you'll probably enjoy it. If you like that, like 1910s, 1920s aesthetic too, like, you've got that on lock as well. It's very much thrown in there. Okay. Our final one is our anime. So our anime club watched through an anime called A Place Further Than the Universe. Did y'all get a chance to check this one out?
A few episodes. So cute. Like, I have nothing beyond, like, it's just adorable. Just in the sincerest of ways. And it's another one I'm intrigued, and I want to finish it. Yeah, it's been good, and I want to see if they make it. I got to see if they make it.
I did not watch it, although I was interested in watching it. I just didn't get around to it. But I did get to join for just a couple of minutes before and after when we hosted it in the Discord. Which I think we'll hear from Twyla soon about that. And it was a lot of fun to. I didn't necessarily actually play. I might have played once for there was like an anime music trivia thing, and it was a lot of fun just to even like commentate in the background. So yeah, it seemed like everybody really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I admittedly did not make it through yet, but I am enjoying it so far. The concept is that you've got a group of high school girls who are wanting to go to Antarctica, which is a strange wish for a bunch of high school girls who want to do, but they make it work. They tell the story really well. And it's a slice of life-esque anime that is very much driving towards like friendship and the way that we do friendship. I think that's probably what it is strongest in. We follow a character who feels kind of listless as our main character, who's Kamari, and is just trying to figure out how to make the most of their teenage years and live into high school. You have another character whose mom was mysteriously like lost or something, or is still at an Antarctic observation shelter or something. And so that's a part of her reason for wanting to get there. And then you have a convenience store worker who is kind of interesting to throw into the mix as well, who's wanting to just go to kind of brag about the fact that they went because they're just very smart. And then we've got another character who is a famous entertainer actress who just wants somebody to not treat her like the famous person that she is and instead just get to be a friend of hers instead. They're charming characters. There are some great gags in this show that absolutely cracked me up. I think it's maybe the second or third episode where the main character Kamari asks her mom for permission to go to Antarctica, and her dad like arrives home right whenever Kamari has just asked her mom and like had already signed the parent's signature form on behalf of her mom, which as a parent, I know that can be a controversial choice to sign before the parent gets the chance to sign. And there's just this great goof of like the dad barring the door and being like, I'm sorry, I have to do this to you, my daughter. I have to give you over in this one. And so it's like a war scene. It's very funny, has some good goofs and some good memes thrown in there. And I thought just had like some silly moments between the characters already in the first 5 episodes. And then it stretches those back and forth with some silly moments and then some really heartfelt ones of like, just people realizing what it's all about to be friends and to take care of each other in a genuine way. There's a moment in one episode where they even say it's the actress who is like, well, all of you are best friends, so I can't join in. And they're all like, are we friends? Like we met like days ago, but I guess we are kind of friends. And it's charming in that way. So sweet characters and fun times.
Yeah. There was, the main character. I think what really draw me to her is just her desire to get the most out of life that she's at in the stage that she's at right now. And to me, that spoke because I remember being that age. And I guess that's why I see it as adorable, because I remember being that age. And there's this one scene where they're running through the city, and they're not in any danger, but they're running through the city as if they were. And they don't even know, two of the 3 girls don't even know why they're running. And she realizes just how magical that one singular moment is. And how in particular instance, like literally anything can happen. And I remember it, as a young human, remembering what that feeling was like. And to me, they just captured, the mysticality of youth so well in that moment. And I'm anxious to see where it goes.
Yes. Same here. We're going to have some quick thoughts here from some other folks that were able to tune in to the club or were able to tune into the show. First, we're going to hear from Perry, who's going to share a little bit about his experience with the show. And then we're going to turn to Twyla to describe a little bit of how the club actually worked for those that were able to tune in live, because watching anime together might be something that is strange to some. So we'll start with Perry here.
A Place Further Than the Universe is exactly the type of anime I love. It's a story of a group of people who are really passionate about something, and they pursue that passion and grow together as they do so. What I really loved about this particular story and this take on that genre is it took a really big concept, in this case a bunch of 15 and 16-year-olds going on this big expedition to Antarctica, but the story itself and the characters are so grounded in relationships, and that's really where the story hits its stride. You have characters who are dealing with grief and loss over loved ones. You have characters who are learning to develop friendships for the first time, whether that be people who've never really had true friends or those who have shunned relationships and close relationships with others, or characters who have friendships that are learning to deal with the changes as those friendships strain and grow apart as people grow and change. And the fact that it was able to tell such a thoughtful story about relationships in this bigger context and not shortchanging either of them. It's a really great story about this journey they take, and it's also a really great story about relationships. And I think that's something that's really beautiful, and that the show did a really great job of threading that needle really well. A Place Further Than the Universe.
Hey all. For anyone who doesn't
exactly
know my
the type of-
voice or this face, I go by Twyla. I've been a member of Checkpoint since roughly the Slay the Princess playthrough in the fall of 2023. I'm a big nerd for VR chat, as you might be able to guess. But I'm also often part of Checkpoint's small group for picking an anime to watch each month. For the past while, our community has voiced interest in watching things at the same time instead of asynchronously. So for August Club Pick, called A Place Further Than the Universe, it's about Antarctica and the characters' journeys there and all that. We tried to experiment with doing a watch party as a get-together. However, I wanted to go about it in a way that works for our faith community by respecting anime, nerd culture, and doing good that way, but also doing no harm when it comes to streaming services terms of service. The fundamental way that we accomplished that took inspiration from how I've seen even very big corporate VTubers handle watch-alongs by sharing a timer stopwatch that people can adjust their starting and resuming around instead of sharing the actual video player. I really like how there's nothing to install beyond whatever you already use to watch your anime as a result, and I feel that respects how anime fans can go about that in their own different ways without having to directly police anybody as a community. Looking back on our first go of that format, I thought it went just about as well as what I'd been doing in my VR chat home community, and I've been doing stuff there with anime watch groups for a couple years at this point. Honestly, the main hurdles that we hit here in Checkpoint were more just about individual internet connections to their video player, some mic hiccups, and adjusting here and there. But the format seemed to otherwise be pretty good, and everybody always had the option to catch up before we started the next episode, or just independently before the next week they could watch episodes that they missed if they couldn't make it a certain week. We did do the animemusicquiz.com as kind of a lobby game waiting for people to join, and that seemed fun enough for everybody who was participating there. We even had somebody join just for that couple of weeks, and shout outs to you who did that. I would generally leave the intro and the outro of the episodes to run to let people do anything during those bits, and just pause it between episodes to ask on the microphone on my end if anybody needed a break before counting down 3, 2, 1, start, and then clicking go on that timer stopwatch that I had screen shared with my own video player just in another unshared window with the audio not being shared. So, and as you might expect, that's not like super duper amenable to folks who try and join into the month partway along to join the meetups for that, just in a Discord voice call. But it's also not impossible to catch up on episodes that you missed either. So it's kind of nice that there's that flexibility. This month, it was mostly just myself, DGC, and Drew in our community. I didn't really end up trying to push a lot as far as like big promo or anything that we were doing it while we were getting this off the ground for this first iteration. But hopefully, if you're interested, we would love to have you join. I believe it'll be a different host this next month doing it for our next club pick. And thank you so much to that person for doing that. Hey all.
All right. And that wraps up the thoughts there. So thanks to Perry and to Twyla for letting us know their thoughts about the club and also about the show. If you liked the penguins in the background there of Twyla's VR chat world, you got to watch the anime to understand why those are so perfectly placed.
Yeah.
They are delightful.
I just, as we were watching it right now, realized, oh, that's why there's penguins there. They were going to Antarctica.
They are
Felt a
there
little
on
silly.
purpose. So there you go. If you are interested in joining us this month, even though we are 7 days into September, it is not too late. So feel free to stick around with our anime game or book club, joining in here. And our picks for September, our anime is going to be Apocalypse Hotel. If you want a quick pitch for that one, this is a hotel that has remained open after the apocalypse has happened on Earth. So all that's left are robots who are taking care of this perfect hotel. It's charming. It's very sweet. It is not at all like Has Been Hotel, if you were wondering, because that is something that we talk about here at Checkpoint. It is not at all that. It is similar in the ways of like talking about what it means to be hospitable, but that is about the end of it. There is a hotel, there is hospitality, and nothing else is similar. So if you are down for a good story about it, you should watch it. It's very fun. And as Twyla said, you can do a 1-episode test. You will know at the end of the first episode if this is for you or not. It is very clear about what it is going to be about. And if you're down for a cutesy fun time, you're probably going to have a good time with it. The game for this month is Fantasy Life I, The Girl Who Steals Time, The Girl Who Stole Time, some phrasing somewhere along there. So this is the Fantasy Life game that was made popular in the DS era, apparently. I never played the original Fantasy Life, so I don't know much about it. But this is a game that has to do a lot with a lot of sorts of things. It's a lot of farming. It's a lot of jobs. It's a lot of mining. It's a lot of wood cutting. It's making things. It's crafting things. It feels like Animal Crossing meets The Legend of Zelda meets whatever Fantasy Life 1 was like. It's all three of those games smashed into one. If you're a fan of farming sims or just simulator types in general and cutesy characters, you should probably give it a try. And then our book for this month is The Plot, which I've already talked about, so I won't dredge on it any further. But I would love, as a kind of call to action for those of you in the chat, if you're hanging out with us, are you going to join any of those clubs? Do any of those sound interesting to you? Are you already in them? Let us know either one of those things. I would love to welcome you into those spaces. Lizzie, Joanna, are y'all planning on tuning into any of those in particular?
I'm hoping to tune into Fantasy Life. However, not quite sure yet. So
all good.
The anime sounds intriguing. Yeah. I probably will still be catching up from August, but
Yep,
if I can get there, yeah. I'm actually technically in all three clubs, so.
Very good. Twyla says popping between the game and anime, and just anime so far. Gotcha. Well, do let us know in the chat which one you might be tuning into. I am on the path of completing all three this month, but we shall see. And that's where we're going to wrap up our club talk, which took longer than I thought, but that's all right. This is meant to be open conversation. So this is the point of the thing. And I'm glad that y'all are here tuning in with us. We're going to move now into talking some about our nerdy sermon from last week. So last week we talked about the anime To Be Hero X. We talked about this idea, the premise of the anime being one where they get their power, superpowers, from how much the community, the worldwide population believes in them. And so the concept is that there's this tier list of heroes of however strong they might be. The higher up the list you are, the more that the populace believes in you, has faith in you. And so the nerdy sermon itself was kind of a critique of that and saying that like that's not a healthy way of living. And it's kind of the illustration of the show to prove that that is not the case, that we really should not be living too much for the opinions of others and how much their belief in us drives us. But yeah, I would love to hear if y'all got a chance to watch that nerdy sermon and if you had any thoughts about it.
I did get to watch it, and there were some times that I was like, yes, like I'm glad that we're getting this message out, and there were other times that I have been like, ooh, I really needed to hear this too, I guess. And yeah, it was a good one for sure. It had me thinking. And then even to tie in something I heard this morning was because it talked about doubt and how we can still have faith within that, right? And a sermon I listened to today said doubt is essential for a full faith life, and it just was, I don't know, the two connecting in that way was unexpected for me, but it definitely had me thinking quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. I was not familiar enough with the original source content, so sometimes I struggle when I'm trying to correlate back to it.
Mm-hmm.
I had never seen the show either, but I was like, well, maybe there are a few times that I have been like, oh, I'll get to it because I don't know it. But I've been trying to be better at like, okay, I haven't seen the show. It's okay. Like, I'll still maybe get something from it. So
yeah. I just need to run back through it again and like you said, see what I can glean from it.
Admittedly, I think that is one of the things that I try to be really intentional about with Nerdy Sermons is like, what can I make sure that even if you've never seen the show before, you can still get something out of this message. And so the theme verse for this one was a familiar one for anybody that's, been in the church for a little while and is familiar with Paul, because it's one of the more famous phrasings, I think, of Paul, in which we've got this conundrum of who do you follow? Do you follow Jesus? Do you follow Paul? Do you follow Apollos, which is another disciple? And talking about this concept of you don't follow either one of us. We're just doing part of the job. We're just doing the planting or the watering, whereas God is the one actually seeing through the growth. And this being an important point of like, what is our role as human beings and as Christians and as people in the world is not to worry about being Jesus, because we could never, right? Like, we can strive, we can hope for perfection, we can work towards whatever grace is happening in us, but to live our lives assuming that we're the hero of the story is a temptation and not a good, healthy thing. And so the kind of call to action of the Nerdy Sermon was to instead view our roles as witnesses instead of saviors. And so that's whenever we say like this concept of testimony, that's what we really mean is we want to hear your testimony, as in, where have you witnessed Jesus in your life? This is a very Wesleyan idea, very much like personal, social holiness within us and how we relate to others. And that's how we offer it. And so sometimes one of the more toxic things that we hear in like an evangelical culture might come from this idea of like saving souls. And that's very much like a popular ideology, and even a popular ideology of people who meant really well, like a Billy Graham. We've got like the Saving Souls, the Saving Souls tour and that kind of stuff. Like, this was a big deal. And it's not untrue that like by sharing your testimony, you are participating in the planting or the watering. But as soon as we get into the idea of like, I am the one saving the soul, that's where the kind of toxic ideology takes over. And so thought this would be a good opportunity to wax a bit on that, which was pretty important.
Yeah.
For sure. I even got some ties back to the K-pop Demon Hunters sermon, like how it connected with me at least. And it just like to handle, because a lot of that, like K-pop Demon Hunters talked about shame, and if you're raised in this extra, like you have to do this, and this, and you don't meet those things, even though people are putting those expectations, like that gives even more shame. I don't know. I have unpacked a lot of that, thankfully, and I'm getting a little bit better, but it's like a constant thing to have to work on too, is unpacking and going, no, it's okay. Like, I'm not here to save anyone. I'm just here to witness. I'm just here to share who I am with others and get and have others share who they are with me as well.
Yeah, very good. Twyla there in the chat also offering up a tradition that offered a lot of the concept of words versus actions and fruit. And again, talking about the role that we play in the work being done. And then the kind of guilt and pressure that comes from that. So that's good points and a good mention there. And I will also double down on what Twyla said there earlier about the art styles in the anime. It is very much worth it to watch it because it is quite impressive. If you are a fan of like the more action-oriented side of anime and you want to see like if you ever watched that like Star Wars Legends or whatever it was called, the one where they did a bunch of different anime like from Trigger and all that kind of stuff. The thing that's cool about that is that they did so many different art styles. And so it was really fun to watch it as like, if nothing else, to see it as like a proof of how cool art can be. This show does a very similar thing where randomly throughout the show, they will just throw in a dramatically different art style. And it's real charming. So very worth watching. Let's see. Last comment here from Twyla. I really like who someone in our community's thread said it made them lean towards trying to take away having patience for ourselves and for others. Yeah. Arcane is a better example than Star Wars for sure. I would say Arcane is a better example of the way that it presents different art styles in a dramatic action context. So, yeah. Very cool. I know Steph is also in the chat there saying the levels of guilt can hit so hard. Yes. So hopefully that sermon hit in a way that people needed it to and spoke to that part of our lives in an important way. The thing I want to mention next, in line with Nerdy Sermons, is that we launched this past week an Indiegogo campaign. And so be sure to go and check out that campaign on our Discord server or shared recently on our Facebook posts or on any of our social media. We'll be doing a reel tomorrow, probably, where I share an update on where we're at so far. But we're attempting to raise $10,000 to help pay for this next 12 nerdy sermons. So if you are passionate about these nerdy sermons, we want them to be as high quality as possible. We want to hire an excellent editor. We want to promote them and market them in a well thought out way. And we also want to give you the opportunity to get some goodies out of that as well. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, there is a full video that I will link to down below. And I'll also link to the Indiegogo in the description as well if you'd like to support us there. But with that, we're going to move into, so we used to do Twig, right? Which had news, and we're still going to talk about some news, but we're not necessarily going to like deliver it like Walter Cronkite or anything. We're going to try and just, a nice timely reference there. We're just going to try and offer up some things that are interesting that happened this week that might play into our lives. And so one thing that was pretty unavoidable this week was the conversation around Hollow Knight Silksong. And so I don't know, Joanna or Lizzie, if y'all are fans of Hollow Knight. Have you ever played Hollow Knight?
Not.
I haven't.
I've seen friends play it, and I have friends who really enjoy it, but I personally have not dabbled.
So Hollow Knight is an indie game. It came out years ago, made by Team Cherry, which is a very small team of developers. I think they were 3 at the time of the first game, and there's really still only 3 team leads, but I'm sure they put some things out to others. But I think that they keep their team very, very small, and yet it went completely viral. Streamers really picked it up. People kept talking about it. It's also just a very well-polished Metroidvania. And so it's got this exploration of platforming mixed with like a Dark Souls level of challenge. So Silksong has been rumored ever since the first game released. So they knew they were going to make a new game. They didn't ever really say when. There was always like this weird rumor mill of fandoms who were like, oh, this year at the Game Awards, they're going to do a trailer and they're going to announce it and they're going to shadow drop it. And every time every Nintendo Direct would drop, they'd be like, Nintendo's going to announce it with the Nintendo Switch 2, Hollow Knight Silksong, it's coming out. And they kept getting excited about it. And then out of nowhere, relatively, because we've been so hyped for it for so long, Jeff Keighley, who is like the guy whenever it comes to video game announcements, does the Game Awards, does Summer Game Fest, does Gamescom, does all this stuff. He says, hey, at Gamescom this year, we have news about Hollow Knight Silksong. But it's barely anything. It's like a nothing burger of news. It's like a little bit of a trailer, a little bit of a tease. And he's like, but 2 days from today, Team Cherry is going to be hosting an event at Gamescom. And at that event, they announce the date. It's like 2 days later, and they announce the release date. And then the release date is in 2 weeks from that date. So they're like practically a shadow drop. Not quite dropping it the day of, but like may as well, because 2 weeks is like a crazy short amount of time. And so what you have is everybody being aware that this game has been hyped for like 6 years, and somebody is going to, you know, eventually find out when the date is, when it's going to be released. And so they say, okay, it's about to be released. And all of a sudden you have all of these indie devs who are postponing their games releasing because they know that Silksong is about to come out and it's going to absolutely destroy the internet. Everybody's going to be talking about it. And then sure enough, it destroys the internet. It not only crashed the Steam storefront, which is pretty rare that happens. We have a lot of moments on Steam, like with Helldivers, with the like rave of Helldivers when it first released, like hundreds of thousands of concurrent players, or like Marvel Rivals where you have hundreds of thousands of concurrent players. Silksong releases, crashes the Steam storefront, unheard of, crashes the Nintendo storefront, super unheard of. Like, I mean, Nintendo has got some of the biggest games in the world that release whenever they release, because people are so hyped about them for so long. I've never heard of one crashing there. And so all of a sudden you have this world-changing, world-ending amount of concurrence. As of yesterday, so I haven't checked today, as of yesterday, they had 563,000 concurrent players at a time. So 500,000 people playing Silksong at once. Like, that is, for a team of 3 people, like, that's insane. Absolutely mesmerizing to see this game that is fun, but it's like has absolutely taken the world by storm and has just become this phenomenon of indie gaming. And so, yeah, that's the gist. What do y'all think about that? Isn't that crazy?
It is really crazy. I remember, like, oh, it's just Silksong. Like, yeah, people are excited about it, but I wasn't expecting like that much. But it was a little funny to see some of the like other indie games going, well, so we were going to, like, I shared the little witch in the woods has a little image of the witch all sad and the broom broken, and there's the Silksong character shadow over it. That is really wild for it to even shut down Nintendo's. Yeah, I'm sure we'll look back at this, be like the great Steam and Nintendo crash of 2025.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I think it's a it's a great commentary on the direction, really, where gaming is going, because, you know, we did have a big launch, and things that are coming out that people think are going to be really big deals really aren't. Now you've got these little indie guys coming out, crashing everything. I think it's just further into the shift of the direction in media in general, where good content is king. You know, people are, you know, they want quality, and I think that they're looking for innovation, and the indie developers are coming through, and that's what people are craving. And obviously it's working and it's selling, and I want to check it out. I mean, if it's, you know, I wanted to play the original, and it's on my list and hadn't got there yet. It's now higher, much higher up on the priority list. I you know, because we have this desire to be a part of the movement. And this is obviously a very big movement in gaming right now.
Yeah. Twyla mentions there in the chat, I also think it speaks of how sequels of popular indie games will attract more eyeballs than original indie games. Not unlike the situation with movies, maybe. Deltarune, and also just the way that AAA does things. I find it really interesting. So the only pushback I would have there is, like, I think that AAA games, I think of like every Ubisoft game, really, and like how they just always push and push and push, and sometimes they do well, sometimes they don't, but they're still going to push no matter what. Whereas like Hollow Knight Silksong really didn't publicize. The publicity was the lack of publicity. The fact that they never talked about it was the fact that it was talked about. And that's the same tune with Deltarune. Like Toby Fox very rarely talks about Deltarune. Every now and again, it'll be like a random Tuesday, and Toby will be like, "Chapter 5's done," and that'll be like all that they say, and it'll be like unbelievably hype for the internet. And so there's this interesting phenomenon as well for indie games, where it's like for your first game, you have to do so much for it to stand out from the crowd, and then your second game, the best thing you can do is rely on that word of mouth and try to be as quiet as you can to drum up like a level of conspiracy. Like you want conspiracy, because without it, you're not sure if people are going to hype up your game enough, which is fascinating. So,
yeah. I think you definitely see though a level of dedication within the fandom. They may not have the numbers of fans that the AAA games have, but those that are there are the dedicated ones. They're the ones who are going to go, they're sitting there waiting, counting the seconds to release time. Like you said, they're scouring the internet. They're looking for clues. The dedication level for games like Hollow Knight, Deltarune, so forth. I mean, that's where I feel like the zealousness in fandom is happening right now.
mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, we're like, hey, look, another Mario, whatever dropped. Awesome. But, may not be something we're going to rush out and buy. We know it's going to be there. But intrigue is definitely a tremendous marketing tool.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to seeing if anybody in the chat is playing through Silksong right now. I mentioned I did pick it up day one. I was pretty excited to see if there was anything in it, because it's just such a phenomenon that I knew that I would need to at least try to write a nerdy sermon on it, or something Hollow Knight-esque. So had to figure out what it was all about, even though they are maddening games that have me gritting my teeth. So would love to hear if y'all are getting into them. But we'll continue on with that hype train with a quick tidbit with the Life is Strange series. So this came out of nowhere for me. I had no idea this was happening, but Variety randomly announced that we are going to be getting a Life is Strange television series created by Charlie Koval, who is the same guy who did, what is the series called? I can't remember, but he did some series on Netflix that were like The End of the World or something along those lines. The End of the World, and a pretty dark series that came out. I love Life is Strange. I know I dropped into the show notes and I was like, we have to talk about this. And we're like, cool, okay. And so I'm going to try my best to explain why I'm so hyped about this. Life is Strange is one of my favorite series of all time. It is one of my favorite stories of all time. I relate so well to the characters in the game. And I think this is a super logical pick for a TV series adaptation. I think that in the world where we're getting Fallouts and Last of Us and all of these kind of stories being told, it'll be really fun to see a more grounded and realistic video game still being told. The issue, I think, with this show being adapted is going to be the casting is going to be pretty tough, because it's going to almost need to be like Riverdale or whatever that show was, or it was like the Archie comics. It's going to have to be like a new, pretty young cast, which is going to be tough. And then it's going to be interesting to see the game has already been spoiled, so we know where it goes. And if you haven't yet experienced the game, then I would recommend not Googling it. Don't spoil for yourself, because it's got one of my favorite twists in video games that you shouldn't know about. But yeah, I'm very hyped. It's a time travel story, so it'll be interesting to see how they tell time travel. Max Caulfield has the ability to rewind time. So it's not just particularly time travel, but literally like starting over times. Set inside of a like private school that is like a boarding school. So all of the kids live on campus. There's some drama going on with a missing girl named Rachel Amber. And then you have Max Caulfield, who has moved back to her hometown after being away for some years. And then you have Chloe, who is her ex-best friend, who is the best friend of the person who is missing, Rachel Amber. Maybe more than best friends. But, you got to play the games to find out. And it's just a really good story, a really well-told story. And I am unbelievably excited to see where it goes, how it gets told, and how it actually performs. And just the fact that it was a complete, like, sneaky drop. Like I had no idea this was even being discussed and then magically dropped. So yeah, I don't know if I've sold you, but I will continue hounding this TV series and this video game for a long time because I have got to hype people up about it.
Mhm.
Listen, I've been wanting to play the games. I either miss the times where it's on sale or I have other games playing.
Mhm.
But it does seem really interesting, and I'm really excited about it too.
Yeah, we my exposure to the game was watching you play it, so I know bits and pieces as I was able to catch them during the live streams when you live streamed the newest one, the sequel.
True Colors, yeah.
And so that was that is enough to intrigue me about the show, and I see myself probably watching a show more easily than probably the time it would take to get through a game like that.
The challenge with this definitely is that it is a game that plays like a show. And so I think it's going to be tough with like certain games, like a Fallout game, right? Like you can translate that to a show because it's completely different than playing the game. But with a game that is a walking simulator that you're basically already just watching a show, it'll be very interesting. So they even released it in episodes. That was the gimmick with the first Life is Strange, is that it was released over months. And so they released like one episode at a time, and then like 3 months later would release the next episode. And that's something that could only have worked in 2015 and just doesn't work anymore. But yeah, very interesting. Story Kitchen is one of the like development houses that is picking this up, and I'm gonna be keeping more of an eye on them because they're picking up everybody. Like they picked up Claire Obscure. I remember that news a couple months ago. I think we did that one on Twig where we talked about they picked it up as a potential series adaptation. They picked up Sifu years ago, or maybe not years ago, but months ago, the game from years ago. So intriguing stuff happening with Story Kitchen, and maybe even a worrying amount of stuff because they can't make all of them happen in my mind. So
listen, I'm just going to put it out there. A Spiritfarer TV show. Don't know how it would work, but I need to see it.
Yeah. Blumhouse approach. It could very well be. And I think that is a good example. And I hope Life is Strange at the very least gets pushed through and that we see more of it. So in the interest of time, we're going to go through this next little bit quickly and try and kind of combine this last little thing into one big segment. After we get through a quick comment, because I did promise that I would answer it. And that is that the other day on TikTok, we post on TikTok every single day for those of you that follow us over there on Nerd Pastor Nate. We also post Instagram, the same stuff on YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, YouTube, they're all or TikTok, they're all the same. I posted on TikTok and just talked about the fact that we get to have nerdy sermons about the things that we do, such as Wander Stop, such as, whatever. And I shared that, and somebody commented and said, don't trust a pastor who specifically ministers to children. That's the parents' job, first off, and they always have suspicious intentions. I want to say two things. First thing, I understand where you're coming from. I get you. I think that it can be. Children's time has always been a little uncomfortable, and children's ministers have always been a little bit of a strange, dissonant thing. Like, I think we've always kind of felt some weirdness. I understand what you're getting at. But I'm not that. I'm not doing children's ministry. We've always been very transparent and upfront with what we're doing, that this is a place for nerds, geeks, and gamers. We're not here for children nerds and children geek and children gamers. That's not what we're trying to do. That may happen just by default sometimes, but technically speaking, we are a digital first church. We are only able to reach those over the age of 13 because of terms of service anyway. So we are not ministering specifically to children, although the stuff we are talking about may be made for children sometimes. Some of the games might be explicitly E for everyone. But this was such a strange thing for somebody to comment and to read into based off of the stuff that I talked about. I think I'm trying to remember what was even in that show, but I'm pretty sure in that TikTok, I definitely talked about some mature games. So yeah, a silly thing to have said, but I do understand. I get where they're coming from. But yeah, that's not what's going on here. And even if it were, I think that we should hope that at the very least, our children that are on the internet are finding things that are seeking out encouraging and positive portrayals of the media that we consume anyway. But yeah, an interesting comment. I don't know if y'all have any thoughts.
Somebody thinks you're ministering to children, they haven't watched anything you've done.
Right?
I mean, like they have not watched anything. And it's not that, for any new people watching this, not that Nerd Pastor Nate is ever inappropriate, but we cover some very serious adult themes here at Checkpoint within the media that we consume. And I am a mother, and my kids, they're always, oh hey, she's hanging out with Checkpoint people, and I'm like, okay guys, this is not, this is one of those things. It's not for you. You need to go find something else to do. This is a conversation we're having. This is not you yet. And so I, as a Checkpoint and a Checkpoint parent, I would say that there's no way. That's just completely off base.
Yeah, when you first told us about the comment, it was like, well, we literally say up front, you gotta be 13, at least 13 and older. Mm-hmm. But nerds like all sorts of things. You can be a nerd about just naming off of Rainbow Bright or Pokemon or all these wonderful things. Mm-hmm. So most of us are, I would say, at least 18 and up. There are a few younger, but yeah, I understand the apprehensiveness, but just dig a little deeper next time, maybe.
We don't even have an explicit youth program. So like our youth are leaders on the level, like they're with everybody else. And so we don't even have a thing that's like delineated off for those 13 to 18 to be like, and you're over here. Like that was a part of our unapologetic approach to what we're doing as well, is like, we are all a part of this thing as nerds, geeks, and gamers, regardless of where we might be coming at this from. So yeah. An interesting thing to see. And we'll do that every now and again here on the show, just kind of tackle some of the random comments and things that we see from our various feeds, because y'all say some really interesting things sometimes, and it's worth commenting on them, if for no other reason than to clarify what are some of our goals here at Checkpoint. So with that, we're going to try and combine these next couple of things. And that is to say, what does it mean to be a part of Checkpoint Church? And in relation to that, a part of Checkpoint Church is that we are trying to create a space online that is not a place that encourages solitude. And so we understand and appreciate introversion. We understand and appreciate apprehension from social activities or from the draining nature of some IRL activities that we go to. But we are also like unapologetic in the fact that the reason that we do what we do, that is Checkpoint Church, is to celebrate what makes you a nerd, geek, and a gamer in community. That's what we're doing. That's why we're doing it. That's why we're here. And so whether that's the thing that we did this week, which is the Pixel Pilgrimage, which is a way that we can experience our nerdiness and community together, whether that is what we're doing right now in the form of this podcast, talking about our nerdiness and community together, whether that is the clubs that we've been doing where we talk about our nerdiness together, like regardless of where we might be coming from, what it means to be a part of Checkpoint Church for me is for us to be fighting back against the loneliness epidemic, is to be creating a space of friendship, of community, and of togetherness online in a way that is life-giving and sustaining. So that is the topic that we were going to talk about real quickly. And the reason we're talking about it is because we're going to have a deeper conversation exploring it Sunday, September 21st for our Difficult Life conversation. That's our DLC, which will be happening at 8 p.m. Eastern on September 21st. So we're going to briefly touch on it here and now, but know that this is a part of a larger conversation and was supposed to be a larger conversation here as well. But I'm going to turn it over to Joanna and Lizzie if you have anything else that you would like to quickly share about this.
About Checkpoint or
yes. So what does it mean to be a part of Checkpoint, and how does that work into what it means to be a community online?
Okay. Why don't you go ahead and go first?
Okay. So it really just being part of Checkpoint to me is it's a movement of showing those that may have been mistreated in other church spaces or just never really included in other ways. It's a place for me, it's a place for you, it's a place for all people. And for your interests and hobbies, and that God loves you and we love you and we all delight in your joy just as much as we hope you delight in our joy, right? And I know I felt very welcomed when I joined, and I hope that other people can also take part of that and know that they're not alone.
I love that.
That's very cool. So I think for me, Checkpoint is sanctuary for me specifically. Living in a daily life, I think, can be rough and harsh, and I feel like maybe it's not now, but to me it feels like now it's just a lot of negativity and a lot of back and forth. And Checkpoint is a place where I can come, where we make it an intentional act to practice radical love towards one another, in a way that I feel is necessary, and not only necessary but biblical. Excuse me, words are hard. And because of the love that we have and the love that we share with one another, there for each other, for the things that we're passionate about, the community becomes something that we are excited to be a part of, something that we are excited to share with others, things that we are excited to actually not just be a part of, but invest in, and having the opportunity to do that as well with different initiatives that we have around Checkpoint. It helps give community, but also for a lot of us, it's the mission field. It's where we want to be.
Yeah. Well, that is great. And Twyla's also commented there in the chat, to me, holding that space for community also itself includes having spaces therein for the more introverted. And then also appreciating both of your stories and echoing their own perspectives as well. Even as a person who understands themselves as aplatonic, the different ways that we share and express from a network to allow more people into the space and feel seen and celebrated. Yeah. And I'll pass the question off as well to those in the chat or those that are watching the VOD later to let us know your thoughts on what this might mean to you to be a part of Checkpoint Church. I think that's something that we wanted to really make sure we included in this episode, because of the fact that that is the purpose of this podcast. Is we want to celebrate what makes people a part of Checkpoint. Like, what is that part of their identity that they find here, that part of themselves that is made realized through the existence of Checkpoint Church. And that comes in all different shapes and sizes and forms and types. And like, some of it is better done over text, and some of it is better done in voice chat, and some of it is better done while we're, coloring in the background or crocheting or playing The Sims. Like, whatever it may be, we bring different parts of ourselves to Checkpoint. And that is something that we should see as a real strength of what we do, because we're able to meet people in a myriad of places that would frankly just look strange in any other environment. Like, if you showed up to church with your laptop playing The Sims, maybe that would be okay, but it might not. I can think of a time, now it's a little bit more like normative to crochet in the back row of churches, but like, I can remember the first time I might have seen somebody doing that and raising an eyebrow. So I think that is still something that can be strange in some places, but we wouldn't even think anything of it in our space because we allow room for that kind of thing to happen. We allow room for people to be more authentic and to themselves. And I hope that we can even serve as an example of how this doesn't have to be a digital first church thing, but that more churches can just adopt this mentality of truly allowing people to enter in from their own places, from a more like socially inclusive way. Because I think that's something that we illustrate in the way that we welcome people from all different types of spaces and places in their mindsets and literally what they might be doing at the time. So in line with this, like I said, we want to continue this conversation and keep it going at our DLC coming up later this month. Again, that's September 21st. But to sort of lean into this, what I'm thinking about including at the end of each of the episodes, we'll see how it goes. So it really rides on you, folks in the chat, you in the VOD watching community. This is all up to you. It's all on your shoulders. We need you to do this. If you don't, we're going to do something else. But I think it'd be a good idea to end each of these episodes as we come to our last kind of conversation to turn our name checkpoint into a verb. So how did you checkpoint this week? What was it that you did this week that was a part of this thing called checkpoint? How did you participate in the life and times of this digital first community in a way that makes sense for you? So to give you an example, with something to work with, I checkpointed this week. So there you go. I'm using it as a verb. I even added the ED to it. I checkpointed this week in one particular way where I have got this recent coloring book that is a monochrome coloring book. So you only use one color to color in everything. So you know how normally like a paint by number, it says like 0 is red, 1 is blue, 2 is green, 3 is that. Like everything is a 0 and all of the zeros are just whatever color you choose. And so it's so pleasing. It's so fun, and I have been doing those recently during our Sunday night Manna and Mingle calls and most lunches. And that is how I have been checkpointing this week, is that I have been in community doing my monochrome coloring book. What about y'all?
Well, I would say podcasting might be a good start. Just being active in chat. I attended lunch this week, which I don't always get to do with kids' schedules being what they are. So just, participating in voice chats, catching up on the the club picks and things that I didn't get to last month. Is a very checkpointy thing to do. So
Love it.
I checkpointed by sharing some art in our art posting channel and just commenting around the Discord.
Yeah.
Love it. Twyla says Anime Club Watch Party is the way that they checkpointed, trying to support the new person hosting it. Yeah, indeed. We are doing that again this month, watching the anime together on Tuesday nights in the way that Twyla described in that video. So be sure to join in with the crew that's watching that and participating in it together. And now we really want to pass it off to you in the chat. So again, this totally rides on you. How did you checkpoint this week? I'll make sure to put it down in the comment section down below on YouTube to remind you that it exists and that it is down there. But I want to hear, what is it about Checkpoint that speaks to you? How did you do it? How are you feeling more yourself because of the reality of this digital first community that is speaking to you? Maybe it could have to do with the thing that we did not really get to talk much about, which is our Pixel pilgrimage, but hopefully we'll get to talk about that another time. Maybe you could even join us at tonight's Man and Mingle. We can talk more about it there if you'd like to hear any of the thoughts that we might have shared during this time. But yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts and your insights, and look forward to seeing that in the future days to come. Again, this podcast will be every other week. So next week, you can expect a nerdy sermon to show up on our YouTube channel. And then the week after that, we will have another episode of the podcast. We're still figuring it out, finding our sea legs, trying to decide how much should go. Clearly, we jam-packed this one a little bit too much with the show notes. We intended on the show being an hour long, and we are pushing an hour 32. And I would have allowed time for it to keep going if I didn't have somewhere to be, unfortunately, today. But I very much appreciate Joanna and Lizzie for taking time to join us on this and be a part of this with us and be our hosts for this inaugural episode. I don't know if we'll have you back for the next episode or maybe for another one after that, but I'm sure we'll be seeing more of you in the future and look forward to hearing more about how you are checkpointing then.
That sounds great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, folks. Well, we're going to wrap this one up then, but appreciate y'all being in the chat. Appreciate, I know, Steph and Twyla there for hanging out with us. Do let us know any of the questions that we might have asked. I'd love to hear some answers to them. And we're going to end this one as we always do with our 3 things that we believe to be true about every single one of you out there, whether you believe in God, don't believe in God, go to church, don't go to church, hate God, hate church, or consider Checkpoint Church to be your church. We believe these 3 things to be true about you. Number 1, that God loves you, really, really loves you. Number 2, we love you, we want community with you. That's what we're doing here. And number 3, that you, yes, you matter. You're a person of sacred worth. The world is a better place. Why? Because you are in it. Folks, thanks again, and I look forward to catching you either tonight for Mana and Mingle or somewhere around the week on the Discord. Thanks for being here. Until next time.